Jednim krajnje čudnim sticajem okolnosti sam naleteo na ovaj video i jako je bitno da čujete šta ova gospođa priča. Njeno ime je Celeste Bishop i oko 20 godina je radila za FEMA. To je zloglasna federalna organizacija koja je usko povezana sa izvršenjem Agende 21, Agende 2030 i depopulacijom, pod čijim rukovodstvom se izvršavaju sve radnje vezane za vanredna stanja u Americi i ima ovlašćenje da uhapsi, zatvori, ubije i oduzme svu pokretnu i nepokretnu imovinu bilo koga i iz bilo kog razloga. Celeste je dala otkaz u FEMA kada je od nje zatraženo da uradi nešto što se kosi sa njenim hrišćanskim ubeđenjima i odlučila je da progovori o planovima za skoriju budućnost i upozori ljude na to šta se sprema. Poslušajte šta ima da kaže.
And I wanted to get into disaster management, emergency management, and so I started to work with FEMA. And basically, I guess my specialty would be plans, but I mean, when you're in FEMA, you do a little bit of everything, and I cross-trained just so you can see. I mean, sometimes there's discussion about, is this real or not? But I don't know, can you see it?
Yeah, Emergency Management Institute Certificate of Achievement, Professional Development Series. So that's proof that you did work with FEMA and Department of Homeland Security. So you worked there for, what, 20 years?
Yes, about. And then people want to know that, they think, oh, that once you're there, you're always there. That there's no way that you can get out. It's like a black hole, it sucks you in. And quite frankly, that wasn't the case. So I was a frequent flyer in the Federal Register, and so on August 15th, 2016, the Health and Human Services put an 88-page document on communicable diseases, and what was interesting about it is it defined things like apprehend, who's going to be apprehended, who's going to be quarantined. It even talked about Ebola, it talked about Zika, it talked about MERS and SARS, but it interestingly mentioned the coronavirus. It even was so specific and drilled down the economic impact if such a pandemic would hit and the steps that they would take. So what we're seeing right now is a rollout of medical martial law. And so I did a video on that, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago, that this was coming and to watch for it. And it got quite a few hits on that. And so it didn't happen at really fast because they didn't want to, they wanted the public to fear so that they would be compliant, but they didn't want to do it too drastically. So as is always with government, they used incrementalization. And so they kind of dripped the martial law in, that's why today is different than it was yesterday, and tomorrow is going to be different than it was today, is that there are 3 benchmarks that each American, every man, woman, and child will have to follow through on to be able to go back to normal, but that's really the global government at that point. But everybody has to participate if we're going to get back to normal. And what are those things? Every single American is going to have to be tested for coronavirus. Every man, woman, and child. This is a big dragnet of our DNA. It is then run through the FBI CODIS. If you've ever been convicted of a crime, if you have a parking ticket, if you've ever done anything naughty, even in your youth, it's going to catch up with you. They're talking pre-crime with this also. And then they have your DNA, they can experiment with it, they can sell it to the or swap it, let's say, with the pharmaceutical companies and make big bucks. They also know if you are predisposed to non-communicable diseases. They know your whole family history. And actually, last week, there were some articles that they said, well, since we already have your blood that you have voluntarily surrendered to us, we're going to trace your family history. And I didn't have time to fully read the article, but there were several of them that mentioned this, and this was last week. The second thing is they've got this, they are experimenting with, was it like 48 different vaccinations, different vaccination platforms. And not only do they do different things and supposedly prevent coronavirus, but they also will address things like your non-communicable diseases, which is heart disease, stroke, obesity, diabetes. Some of them will sterilize you and make you unable to have children, but they're not going to be telling you all these things. And then the third thing, which I find the most horrifying, well, let's go back to the vaccinations. I think it's really important because this is another thing they don't talk about, is the vaccinations contain aborted human babies and humanized mice. Now, what is a humanized mouse? A humanized mouse is a mouse that has human blood, human organs, a human immune system. It's basically a human in a mouse suit.
I evo, čisto da ne bude da ova gospođa priča gluposti, ukucao sam pretraživač Humanized Mice i evo šta je izašlo. Očigledno je da ovo nije ništa novo ni neobično za sataniste i eto, dame i gospodo, šta ova đubra satanistička hoće da ubrizga nama i našoj deci. Ali, kao i uvek, ovo nije kraj, najgore tek sledi, pogledajte.
And then, if that wasn't bad enough, they have managed to, through xenotransplantation or transgenics, whatever you want to say, put human proteins into the vascular, a plant's vascular structure. So a plant kind of has blood, not like us, but it has a vascular structure, and it has water like us. And now they've injected human cells into that. So they're going to take the aborted human babies, they're going to take the humanized mice, and they're going to take the proteins, harvest the proteins from these humanized plants and put it into this vaccine and give it to you. And that is supposed to protect you from the novel coronavirus.